For this video, I want to talk very briefly about using artificial intelligence and chatbots in English 242. What can you do and what can't you do? First, I'm going to talk about a quick disclaimer of my personal opinions on chatbots in writing, go through 3 things that you can do, and then talk about 1 thing that you can't do. Okay, so first of all, most writing instructors, probably including myself, generally discourage the use of chatbots because if the purpose of teaching you to write is that you actually try out the writing yourself, some of that gets lost in translation when you're using something else to write for you. Of course, I can see some benefits of using a bot to help you develop your writing, but most of the time, students are not using LLMs or things like ChatGPT to learn. They're using it to bypass the work that's required for writing something at length, or maybe even for writing something that they're a little bit nervous about writing. And so that is probably the biggest reason why instructors generally discourage the use of chatbots, or overall, many people will just outlaw them altogether. My thinking, though, is that if you're going to use it, you're going to use it. There's nothing I can say that's going to stop you from using it. And if you are going to use it, I want you to know how to use it ethically. I think that that's really important because I think that there are ways to use things like ChatGPT ethically, morally, and in ways that don't violate any kind of academic honesty. Now, these are my thoughts for our course this semester, so definitely check in with any other professors that you have this semester or in future semesters just to get their take on how they feel about the use of artificial intelligence in their classroom. With all of this being said, if you never intend on using ChatGPT or some other kind of large language model or AI to do any of the work for you this semester, that's amazing. That's fantastic. That's the ideal. That's how I would love for it to be. If you do, however, here are some guidelines for you so that you don't violate any of the policies for our class, and you make sure that you really are meeting the goals of learning for Braille-Lit. All right, so if you want to use a chatbot to understand your own thinking, then I think that that's a great way to use AI as a tool. What I mean here is maybe you're reading something for class and you're trying to figure out your thoughts on it, and you feel like you have an idea, but you're really having a hard time articulating it. What you can do is use the chatbot to facilitate the Socratic method where you've got one person asking questions and another person answering the questions. In this case, though, you want to be the person who's answering the questions. So what you can do is you can tell ChatGPT or whichever bot you're using to ask you questions that you then answer with your own thinking, your own analysis, your own examples from the text. And I've got some prompts here that you could try out. So I read, and you'd put the poem and the author. And I'm not sure I understand the meaning of the poem, but I'm curious about it. Could you ask me 3 questions that might help lead me to an understanding of the poem? Okay, so the bot's going to kind of use its own knowledge of language and what it can know about the text. And it's going to ask you some questions that then you can think about and you can answer. And what we're doing there with this type of prompting, we're getting the bot to ask you the questions, is that you're giving yourself an opportunity to focus in on key things that are important, but respond in a way that's your authentic, genuine thinking. That's really what we want here. When we're analyzing literature, I want to know what you think. I don't want to know what you think is the right answer. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm not really interested in what the perfect analysis of a poem or a short story is. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you're getting out of the text. So by forcing the bot to ask you questions and then you answering the questions, or even saying, I don't understand this question, can you ask it in a different way? You're going to be able to use the Socratic method to better understand and process your own thoughts about what you read. And this will probably make it easier for you to write about what you read and write about your thinking about what you read. So there's some other examples here that you can check out. I believe the poem or story title by author is about, and just put in a quick, your interpretation. It can be really, really rough. Can you ask me 4 questions that could help me explain my reasoning? Okay. Another example. I feel like there is a tone of whatever the tone is in this work, but I'm having a hard time articulating why I think that. Could you ask me 2 questions that might help me better explain my thinking? Okay, so again, the goal here is just for you to process your thoughts in a way that's really targeted and with something that could answer for you, but you're not going to let it. All right, so let's take a look at another way that you could use a chatbot. How about proofreading your writing? That's totally fine. If you've got an essay, you've drafted it, and you want to know a little bit more maybe about your own grammar. Do you have any common mistakes that you're making? Maybe the structure of your essay, or even the support. Try a prompt like this. Please review the attached document. It is a paper on, tell them a little bit about it, for my British Lit 2 class. Tell me if I have any repeated grammar errors and give me an example of that error. Then tell me if my structure and support are effective, or suggest 2 areas for improvement. Now, this last part is important. Do not write revisions for me. Simply point out areas for improvement. Okay, so the key here is that it's identifying for you possible weaknesses within your own writing, but it's not doing the fixing for you. Now, if you don't understand why it's saying what it's saying, of course you can ask it follow-up questions, but you really want to avoid allowing it to make any kind of revisions for you until you understand what types of revisions you might want to make. So I definitely encourage you to do your own revising, but let the bot point out areas of weakness. That's absolutely fine. So if you're going to use ChatGPT or other types of large language models to generate text, let it help you instead of letting it do the work for you. That's going to keep you honest and authentic. Another way that you can use a chatbot is for research. So platforms like ChatGPT are sources. They're nothing else. They are sources. Like any source, first of all, you want to decide, do you trust it? Is it credible? There is an argument to be made, a really convincing argument to be made, that doing your own research outside of platforms like ChatGPT is better. But if you're going to use ChatGPT to gather knowledge and information, then you need to know what to do with that information in order to keep yourself credible. Okay, so if you use any information from a source like ChatGPT, you still need to cite where it came from. If it gives you facts, statistics, arguments, ideas that don't belong to you, the same way you would cite a source written by a person, you're gonna cite this source written by the generative AI. If you quote, if you take anything word for word, you need to quote it, right? Because it's not your language. So here's how to cite ChatGPT in MLA 9th edition. First, you're gonna type out like a shortened version of the prompt. Now, if the prompt is really, really short, such as, in what year did Mary Shelley write Frankenstein? Then you can type the whole prompt and you can put it in your citation in quotation marks with the word prompt after it, like as you see here. Then you're going to put the specific LLM that you used. In this case, my example is ChatGPT, the company that has developed it, the date that you generated, and then please share the URL that takes us to that chat thread. So not just chatgpt.com, but specifically the one that's going to take us to the shareable thread of what you generated. So here's an example. Now I've got an example prompt title that's abbreviated because the prompt I entered is multiple sentences, and that's just a little bit too long for a works cited page. So you're going to put a shortened version of the prompt, again with the word prompt after it. This was done through ChatGPT, which is developed by OpenAI on May 29th, 2024. And then this is the link that will take you specifically to that thread. The reason that this is important is it really keeps you honest. It gives whoever's reviewing that information the ability to see what did you ask it? What information did it give you? And then kind of compare that to your output to see, what did you end up using, and did you use it in an ethical and responsible way? And if you do use content inside of your essay, you're going to need to have that on your works cited page, and you're also going to need an in-text citation for where you use that information, and you'll just use what's in quotation marks at the beginning of your citation, which is the shortened version of the prompt. Okay. So, as I feel like is probably clear already, but just in case it needs to be said, the thing that you can't do, my little stop dinosaur up here, is saying do not use chatbots to write for you. So the reason for this is because our stated learning objectives in the course is that you can describe, analyze, interpret, and evaluate British Lit, and then write about that. That is your task, right? Using ChatGPT or other generative AI to do that for you bypasses the whole point of why you're in this class in the first place. That means that I'm evaluating them. I need to be evaluating your work, not their work. So what is really, really, really important here that you make a key takeaway, if you remember nothing else from this video, is that I want to hear what you think. You can interpret a text in any way that you want, even if it seems absolutely absurd and ridiculous. As long as you can support your interpretation with evidence and logical reasoning, that is not a wrong answer. That is what I look for when teaching literature. So as long as you can tell me how you got to your conclusion, that's totally fine. I hope that will take the pressure off of feeling the need to write perfectly. I want you to have an idea, and I want you to think about why you have that idea and tell me about it. As far as writing is concerned, the writing does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be this like fluffy, over-articulated, scholarly article type of jargon. I'm not looking for that. I don't expect that you write this way, and I've never seen anyone write this way. That's writing authentically. So definitely keep the chatbots as aids, but make sure that you're not crossing the line into academic dishonesty. If you have any questions about this, please check the syllabus. There is a section on using platforms like ChatGPT, what you need to do, and how you need to disclose that you've used them. And then also beyond that, please email me anytime you have a question. It's absolutely okay to ask and engage me in conversation about ChatGPT. I never want you to violate your own moral or ethic code on accident because maybe you were just confused about what you could or couldn't do. So please reach out if you have any questions.